Let's give a warm round of applause for Tim Kalki. Tim, I'd like to turn this portion of the program over to you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. As mentioned, Tim Kalki, General Manager of Sustainable Energy for Galena, Alaska. We call that SEGA for short. Much easier to roll off the tongue. Sure. Okay. Good to go? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to present, and very grateful to really just attend such a distinguished event such as this, the opportunity to present, and also the opportunity to represent the community of Galena and Loudoun Tribe. Not loud enough?
There we go.
Better? Okay, great. Thank you. And so today we'll present about what energizing a rural community looks like in interior Alaska. We're involved in a number of different technologies and projects. As we'll go through, biomass has been the foundation. We've moved into residential construction and now solar power production and community energy planning, all things that are in various stages and are very similar to the things I've been hearing from others regarding issues in their communities. You can see in the image where Galena is located. We're approximately 300 air miles west of Fairbanks, Alaska. Notali Day, the place where the waters swirl, that is the current site of Galena. The area was traditionally used by the Cayucan Athabascan. Today, Galena is a community of approximately 400 residents year-round, with 65% Native Alaskan. The history it is not a traditional village site. Occupation and activities in Galena proper started in the 1920s with some mining developments. If you were to stand on the north bank of the Yukon in Galena and look south, you would see some hills where there is lead ore present, or Galena. That's the name of the community. And then perhaps most predominantly in the 1940s, there was the construction of a U.S. Air Force base in support of the Lend-Lease Act. Galena today is very much a mixed economy. Subsistence activities, dealing with the boreal forest and the Yukon River are predominant contributors to the economy and to the residents, as well as a significant transfer economy portion. Federal, state programs that either bring individuals into the community and or different programs and subsidies. And then of course, there is a small component of a market economy. Galena, however, being remote and rural, does not have a lot to produce goods and services to a market economy. However, through dedicated leadership, which has a great history in Galena, systems have been able to be put in place. In the image on this slide is Sidney C. Huntington, and this is the individual who the school is named after. However, and we'll use him as an example of great leadership in the community and the surrounding area, but really there's a long list of individuals and photographs that could be put up here. And I wanted to emphasize this component because for all of the things that I'm going to present about today, it without a doubt is the people that are putting in the effort that have made things successful. And one of the visions of Sidney Huntington and core principles and values was the importance of a quality education for the community members and those in the surrounding area. And perhaps a unique component about Galena, which is different than other small rural and remote communities, is that they've been able to establish themselves as a first-class city. And this occurred in the 1970s, 1980s. And that's important because those who run the city are local tribal members from Galena and the surrounding area, and they're able to really be in control of their education system. So Galena, a community of 400 people, has a K through 12 school As Chance mentioned, the Galena Interior Learning Academy, which is a residential school that serves approximately 200 high school students annually from over 50 different villages. Galena also facilitates a very robust homeschooling program, which I believe at the time of COVID assisted over 9,000 students. What I'm getting at here is that Galena is unique in that for a community of 400 people, it has and facilitates the 5th largest school district in the state of Alaska, which is quite notable. And therefore, when I tie this to the market economy piece, Galena produces education. But we face many of the same problems that rural and remote indigenous communities face all across the world, really. And that is with the high cost of fuel for energy generation. Current price per kilowatt hour in Galena is 72 cents. That's before any state subsidy. As mentioned, 300 air miles west of Fairbanks. All goods are transported via barge on the Yukon or flown in. Very expensive proposition. And while there's no lack of leadership and passion, naturally, as we endeavor into different energy technologies, there is a capacity limitation which needs to continue to be developed. And so the energy story with respect to renewables in Galena really starts and focuses around the former Air Force Base. As you can see in the image, that triangle that I blew out there, that is the old infrastructure. The Air Force pulled out of Galena officially in 2009, and when ownership of this infrastructure was transferred to the city of Galena and repurposed for use as that residential school, or the Galena Interior Learning Academy. And receiving a transfer of ownership like this really can be viewed as an incredible asset. What a wonderful way for the community to grow and implement services. At the same time, it can serve as an incredible liability. That infrastructure consumed approximately 250,000 gallons of diesel annually for thermal load only. It utilized an old steam distribution system. So the diesel boiler, the heat came from the plant, above and below grade utilidor, and heat exchangers in each building. In 2009, the Air Force left the community approximately 1.5 million gallons of fuel to keep this running, which really could be viewed as, or that's when the hourglass started. So the next picture here is what we call tank 44, 2 million gallon tank. The community knew this is great. We don't have to pay for this fuel. This was gifted to us. However, every year it's steadily going down. So what are we going to do? Fortunately, there was great vision from Loudoun Tribe, the city of Galena, and Galena City School District to partner together and explore ways to use local resources. And that's where the concept of installing a biomass boiler and upgrading the distribution system came about. So the Galena Biomass Project was funded through a grant from the Alaska Energy Authority. That's a state program. However, there was not grant funds for other components because as the assessments were occurring, we realized the significant inefficiencies of the old system. Engineers identified that approximately 50% of the energy being put in was being lost to waste. Some of that waste was actually helpful in that it served as a freeze protection for domestic water line. So what our Galena Biomass Project, as it became known as, was an installation of a boiler, a whole revamping, switching from steam distribution to hydronic, converting diesel boilers to hydronic, or steam boilers to hydronic, and installing a new domestic water line. So the Galena Biomass Project turned into a $9 million project, of which 1/3 was grant funded. The others through state loan programs. Here's the old diesel boiler. We still have 2 of these functional to serve as backup. and the installation of a wood boiler. The wood boiler can hold the load. It's 4.5 million BTU boiler, can hold the load down to about 30 below. Afterwards, the diesel has to kick in and subsidize. Now, one significant component of the project, and where the organization of SEGA comes into, is that's great. You've got a boiler, you've got a new system, it's very efficient, so on and so forth, but you have to have somebody be able to provide that wood fuel. And again, due to capacity issues and really risk and liability, none of the entities, the tribe, the city, or the school wanted to become a logging company that processed logs into chips. So they formed a nonprofit organization, SEGA, which is a 501c3, with the original primary purpose to provide the woody biomass. Well, we have a lot of individuals in Galena who are accustomed to collecting firewood and working on engines and being in the cold and things like that. But we needed somebody to step in and help manage an organization like this. And if you live in a small community, you find yourself, okay, yep, you're a teacher, but you're also this. Or, you know, you kind of have the same 10 people syndrome. I don't know if you guys have that in your little communities. They attend all the meetings, that sort of thing, right? So you find yourself doing anything. So I started off as an educator at the high school, but working through various programs that I taught and my own education in the natural resource management field, took on the task and role of serving as the general manager. And I'm very, very proud that we have completed 8 timber harvest seasons to date. So what does some of that look like and some of the results? Again, the average annual heat requirement for the infrastructure that's used for the school, 16.5 billion BTUs. Now, instead of using 250,000 gallons of diesel, we use about 40,000. Again, that's to subsidize during the extreme cold and then the shoulder seasons. So in August, when we need domestic hot water, the oil boilers will take care of that. And that has to do with the turn down ratio of the biomass facility. Oil displaced, though, through the efficiencies of the system and wood is nearly 200,000 gallons. That's massive for a small community like that in a school district, like every school district, which has limited budgets. Okay, so now there's 2 things. Galena produces education, and we produce wood chips. Annually, we have a timber sale agreement with the school. We sell our wood chips to the school, and they're used in that system. So now we've introduced roughly $500,000 of new money to the economy. So building up on that market component just a little bit, which really has been a fantastic thing with respect to job creation, keeping money in the community, providing individuals with purpose, things like this. So we've seen many benefits. I put this picture up. That's the school logo, right? Galena Hawks, that's our team name. Because I was told also by the late Danny Patrick, who was the original power producer in town. Prior to the Air Force helping the city build a power plant, it was a private individual provided power for what we call Old Town. And he was a big proponent and fan of biomass. And we went on a tour one day in Fairbanks looking at different chipping facilities. And he looked at it and he said, "Tim, check it out. That's what you guys are going to be doing in Galena. You're going to be producing chips." I said, "That's right. Awesome, Danny." He said, "I want you to remember, every time you guys turn that equipment on, all those chips you're making, it's not chips. You're helping a student walk across the stage, get their diploma. That's what you guys are doing." So we've really taken that to heart. And the local resource that we use, predominantly based off of the surrounding terrain, is paper birch. We utilize a passive drying system, and we're able to accomplish an average of 32% moisture content wet basis of our product. That's really critical. that we don't have to expend any funds on drying the biomass out. And that naturally played into the selection of the boiler. So we needed to have a system that could accept a little bit higher moisture content. I'm not sure how many. I've been hearing a lot of solar. We are in Florida after all. Not too much biomass yet, but chip specification and things like that are really critical in the biomass world. Without a doubt, we have lots of challenges. Everybody on the crew, including the general manager, is a mechanic. Yep. Maintenance on heavy equipment, mechanized logging is essential. Cost. Things are expensive in rural Alaska. We're not always able to beat the cost of diesel, especially when the large bulk orders are purchased. The cost per gallon can decrease to where sometimes biomass over the last 9 years has been more expensive than diesel, but yet it's incredibly valued for all the other value-added benefits that are brought to the community. Some other images. I don't know if anybody in here has ever operated a skidder, but there's the picture there of the tire with a big chain on it. And if one of those comes off the rim, you got an uphill battle. But using our resources, using our teamwork, you know, that happened to us and we were able to successfully repair it and get it out of the woods. It's pretty awesome. So where do we harvest our material? We have a 20-year timber sale agreement with Galena Limited. That is the regional native corporation that serves Galena, Kayukuk, Nulato, and Kaltag, 4 communities within about 60 river miles. In the image on the screen now, you have the red boundary line. That's about close to 5,000 acres. And naturally, this being the boreal forest, which is one of the largest forests in the world, but not very diverse, only a few species. And so on this picture, I put in that yellow line. To the left, or the southwest of that yellow line, is balsam poplar, or locally known as cottonwood. And to the right, or to the northeast, we have large swaths of paper birch with white spruce intermittently mixed in, with a large number of grass lakes, because after all, we are in the Yukon floodplain, and we capitalize on those grass lakes as our transportation corridors. Here's an image of 8 years of harvesting. We harvest approximately 30 acres a year. We do what we call patch cuts. So no harvest unit is really any larger than 10 acres. Paper birch, being shade intolerant, they need the sun to regenerate. Natural regeneration is our approach to the renewable aspect of using this material. And so we do that. What can be thought of as that clear cutting, right? When I didn't know much, I always thought clear cutting was like the absolutely worst thing in the world, and yep, in a lot of places it is. In this instance, it is the appropriate application. And as you can see, 5,000 acres, if all we do is continue to harvest in our backyard, you know, we'll probably have about 20 years. So in an effort to, of course, make this more sustainable, assessments of the forest area around Galena have been done, and without a doubt, there is enough vegetation within a 25-mile radius of the community. It's a matter of being able to get there. And so we've been able to work with Galena Limited and increase our timber sale area, as well as the ANCSA Corporation, who just recently signed a timber sale agreement with us to be able to harvest on their lands for biomass energy. And so if in this image, all of the red lines are now available for our long-range harvest planning. We use this is a fancy logging word, a single grip dangle head processor, rather than the traditional mechanized feller buncher for cutting trees. But that's really important to us because what happens, this piece of equipment has a bottom chainsaw and a top chainsaw, puts its arm around a tree, bottom saw comes out, it falls down, And then it processes it, pulls it through the head, takes off the branches, and scarifies the bark. And that's really key for our operations because opening up the cambium layer throughout the length of the stem, rather than just looking for drying from the top or the bottom, helps us do that passive drying that I was talking about before. So we fell the trees in the woods, of course, transport it from the harvest area to the loading deck with a skidder. This is everybody's favorite one to drive. And we have self-loading log trucks. All of our operations are done in the winter. All of our access routes are temporary snow-packed trails, all done when the ground is frozen. And so when this self-loading log truck is full capacity, it's about 80,000 pounds, and they'll do anywhere 200, 250 back and forth trips a year. You go in there in the springtime when things have thawed out, and you would have absolutely no idea that a vehicle drove there. The moose put a more significant impact on the trail than our equipment does. And we bring it back to the community, and we use knife chippers to create uniform quality dry chips. When we started all of this, it was a crawl, walk, run. We all really had to learn how to do it and how to manage an organization and how to work together to make it happen. Our first felling season was 2015. Maybe 4 years after that, we felt like we were running. We were doing pretty well. However, as I mentioned, these activities only took place in the wintertime. Individuals need to work more than that to be able to support the traditional activities that they want to pursue, to take care of their families. So it's difficult because we'll have employees during the winter, we build up a team, and then we risk losing them to other projects. So we really started looking closely at how we can expand our operations and expand contributions to the community. And that's where, again, working with Loudoun Tribe and their housing program, we were able to establish that. And we expanded our purpose as a nonprofit organization. So not just providing wood fuel, but to facilitate sustainable energy education initiatives and implementing other energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. And that third one really has been kind of like a catch-all with respect to construction activities. And investing in our capacity, being able to purchase additional equipment. In 2021, now as adding a second line of business. So we have logging and lumbering on one hand. We've introduced general contractor construction. In 2021, we built two what we call studio cabins. I think they're maybe 700 square feet. Single room, family of two, things like that can for a place to stay in the cold winter. Initially, the tribe purchased packages from an Alaskan material vendor. They call them kits, they say, but in my mind, a kit, well, kind of has instructions, and it comes with everything you need. And so these were not kits, these were packages, regardless of how they advertised it. But they purchased the materials and sent them out to Galena. Sega went through the whole bidding process just like any other contractor and was awarded the job. And so we were able to put these packages together and built two nice homes. Not sure what average wall thickness is in small places or in locations like Florida. These are 8-inch thick walls with the foam board insulation, what have you. So definitely far more efficient than the rounds of HUD homes that we've experienced in Galena that were constructed in the 70s and 80s. And that really opened our eyes. Hey, this works. So let's continue to develop this. And the tribe, through from the housing and urban development funding that they get from the state, as well as some COVID relief funding, decided that they wanted to pursue more affordable homes. And so we did 2 additional ones in 2022, this time graduating to the 2-bedroom level. And then this summer, we constructed 2 1,200 square foot homes. Now this time around, there were no packages involved. Sega was contracted to procure all the materials, work with them on the design, so on and so forth. And so all 7 now that we've constructed over the last 3 years, we're very proud of, and they're very energy efficient. But these last 2 this year are really the cream of the crop. Additionally, after proving ourselves in the community that we do good work and we can set up walls and put a roof on it, we've been getting contracted through the health clinic to do their on-call maintenance and repair, the elders facility to serve those purposes there, same purposes there, and very excited. It started off with a crew of maybe 4 or 5 individuals through the summer putting these packages together, and to where this summer we had 13 employees, nearly $1 million in payroll went through our activities. And here we use the, I'll go back, these are 12-inch walls, R48 in the floor, 40 in the walls, and R60 in the roofs. So these are incredibly well insulated and ventilated to really reduce the amount of energy one needs to keep us warm. You probably all know this anyway, but it gets really cold up in Alaska. Yeah, we actually we're really pleased to be here in Florida at the moment. The day we left was the 14th day of between 40 and 50 below. Yep. So yes, it was nice to arrive here. But calling back and asking, how are these homes performing? And they're doing really well. The occupants are super happy. Not really even needing to get a fire going in their wood stove. Just the diesel baseboard system is working well, so we're excited. The picture on the left of the interior of the home, in a way that is a good example of culturally appropriate or adaptable employment. All right, so we've been proud to have all local individuals working on these homes. The only component that we had to subcontract outside of Galena was the electrician. We even have our own in-house plumber, which is neat this year. But this picture shows, the sheetrock. Well, the last couple of years, the crew did all of the sheetrock and all of the taping and all of the mudding. And I told them, I said, this is great. It doesn't matter that it takes a little bit longer. We're all learning, first of all, and this is dependable employment for you. We got to these homes and they told me, Tim, subcontract the drywall. Oh, come on, guys, we can do this. They don't like taping and mudding. So instead of contracting out the drywall, we made a deal. Well, let's do MDF panels. And so we ended up installing that on all the inside of those homes. So working with our capacity, with our level of what we can do professionally and make a great product was really important. Yep. And I've already mentioned some of the other items. Here's a large deck that we constructed on the back of the Elder Center. Huge facility. Very little accessibility to get outside for the folks who are in there. So when we had the opportunity to put this up there, we definitely grabbed that one. And it's one of the homes are great as well, but the deck is awesome. To be able to provide the elders, a deck to be able to go out and look out over the Yukon River is pretty important. So I would say now with the construction we're running, with logging we're running, but the challenges continue. And approximately 5 years ago, the city of Galena received a grant through USDA with the proposal of installing a community-sized solar array. 1.2 megawatt was the proposal at the time, with a large battery backup system. And There's a whole number of reasons, but mostly due to capacity. Individuals working at the city, there's not a whole lot of them. There is some turnover, and they already take care of like 7 different departments. So those who work for the city of Galena, they provide the electricity. They take care of all the road maintenance, the water plants, the landfill, the police department, so on and so forth, all those things. So to try to add something new onto their plate with the bringing to fruition the concept of a solar array and automated controls and things like this, it was a little bit too much. So it didn't happen. It kept stalling. Well, individuals in the community saw that, this is something we really want to do, and how can we really band together and help the city, maybe even use a different implementation model that can bring these benefits to the community and overall make the city's electrical distribution more secure. And so now in 2020, well, it's 2024, back up a few months, 2023, we finally received, after the 5 years, a 3rd grant. So we have the USDA grant, we received state funding, and a grant through the Office of Indian Energy. But they all don't go to the city. This really is becoming a complex issue. The city gets some of the grants, the tribe has some of the grants. There's the Tanana Chiefs Conference that has some funding, so on and so forth. So ironing this all out has really been an exciting adventure for sure. And then, there's individuals and members of the community who are concerned about, is it really going to work? Who's going to be responsible for this when it's over, so on and so forth. And so what we were able to accomplish in that wasn't me, that was it. Okay. What we were able to accomplish in this summer was the installation of our solar PV pilot project. So it's a 50 kW solar array. Yep. Already tied in now to the city's distribution line. The tribe owns this array. They have contracted with Sega to manage, operate it, and maintain it. And so Sega has worked a power purchase agreement with the city. So we're on this side, we're really doing the back end of the project. A local contractor installed this. So it's, again, a great example of the determination and the capacity of what we can do when we spread things out in the community. Here we have an image. The power generated isn't important. What I'm hoping to get across here is that solar does work in Alaska. We really have some great periods of solar production, particularly coming up here in March and April when there's still snow on the ground. But it doesn't work so well in November and December and January. But here we are testing out methods of being able to remove the snow so that when we do start getting some good daily production, that the panels are going to be able to capture it. Okay, this picture is not from Galena. All right, this is an image of a community-sized solar array for Shunyak, Alaska. But this is essentially what we're envisioning. We're coming down the track. We anticipate this spring, construction of the array will begin. Having the full 1.5 megawatt solar array with 1 megawatt hour inverter and megawatt battery energy system, probably sometime in the latter portion of 2025 before it's all put in place. And according to all these grants that we've been able to acquire and apply towards this project, one of the measures of success is the amount of diesel displaced. And this project is anticipated to displace approximately 20% of the city's diesel fuel requirement for all of the electrical generation. Okay, so there's an empty field in Galena. That's where those nice panels will be. Yep. And again, here's some engineer drawings of it. We've decided to go with a IPP, or independent power producer model, which is really quite unique. And I broke my own rule. I made a really busy slide, and I'm sorry. But take a look at those, there's little diamonds on there. The yellow ones, working from right to left. You know, diesel traditionally is purchased from an outside vendor, barged down the Yukon, through bulkhead and hoses or underground pipeline to the tanks. And when the community purchases the diesel, you know, that we're locked into that price then also, right? We're not going to get filled up again for a whole nother year. So regardless of what the fuel market is doing in the outside world, we're stuck with what we have. So that's 1. 2, the city naturally purchases the diesel, transports it with barge. Moving over to 3, it goes to the power plant. 4, it's distributed out. 5A and 5B, there's residential customers purchase the electricity. Federal, state, commercial customers. Now, Alaska does have what's called the Power Cost Equalization Program, which is funds provided to rural and remote Alaska from the state. And it was created because the state had invested significantly in the electrical system on what's called the rail belt, or on the road system, which naturally does not benefit rural and remote indigenous communities. And so that's why the Power Cost Equalization was created. And they provide a subsidy to the first 750 kilowatt hours used by residents. And that subsidy is calculated based off of fuel costs and non-fuel costs. The PCE level now in Galena, I believe, is something like 27 cents. So while the city's rate is 72, 27 cents come off because of that subsidy. The city uses revenue generated from electrical sales for their business use. The diesel vendor gets their money, and it goes out of the community. So what we're hoping to do is implement the bottom portion of this graphic. So on the lower right, we've got Sega being a solar fuel vendor, which again is founded by the significant governance within the community, the tribe, the city, and the school. We've established a power purchase agreement with the city. We will sell that power at the avoided cost of diesel. So the same diesel cost per kilowatt hour, that will not change for the city. Meaning that their total fuel costs, whether they're paying for diesel or solar, will be the same. And that way that PCE calculation I referred to doesn't change, because bringing PCE funding into the community to assist individuals with these high expensive rates is very important. And it also allows us to capitalize and bring, again, new money into our economy. This component, without a doubt, is unique to the Alaskan context, but very applicable to all 200 plus tribal villages across the state that may be considering something like this. I've refrained from putting any exciting numbers up here because I don't want to be held accountable for anything. I'm joking. But because we don't know, obviously, how much annually we're going to generate. But estimates have shown with a 1.2 megawatt system that approximately $350,000 annually could be generated from solar sales. And so now, again, that's new money to a little community that can be distributed out. And all of this, maybe we're a little bit late to the game, but all of this over almost 10 years now is really bringing to light the importance of having a strategic community energy plan. And that is something that our community does not have. The entities all have strategic plans for the school, for the tribe, and naturally energy is a component of those, but not a multi-level governance from a horizontal perspective and a vertical perspective informed energy plan. And so that is something that we're now moving into as well. taking a look at, it's not just about diesel displacement. It's not all about just reducing the cost. There are a number of things that renewable energy can bring to a small community like Galena that serve as economic development contributions that support not just the small market economy that we have, but supports the essential subsistence economy that we have and reduces the amount of overall dependence that we have on a transfer economy. And so this is where we're at. The future is bright, hopefully. We put all those panels up, the sun better shine. But we've come a long way. We have a long ways to go. And pending your questions, that concludes my presentation. Sir.
How many days is it dark in Alaska?
How many days is it dark in Alaska? That's good. Well, you know, it's almost equal throughout the course of the year, right? I mean, we have the equinox on the front end and the back end. I think people commonly forget that, or they think it's dark all the time. Well, yeah, it certainly does get dark certain times of year, but in the summertime, it's sunny all the time.
Yep, that's true.
So.
Yeah, okay. We got questions up here.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Quick question with regards to the tree clearing that you're doing. How long does it take for it to be reforested for it to grow back?
That's a great question. So the material that we're harvesting, the age range of the stands, between 50 and 60 years, somewhere in there, is the age of the trees. So we anticipate somewhere in that realm. It takes time, and we're using the natural regeneration approach. So we aren't seeding or plantation or anything like that. We do scarification of the area through the use of our equipment, the tracked equipment and the chain tires. And so our requirement is to scarify 20% of the area that we harvest, and that's easily done just through our operations themselves. And so one other thing on our to-do list is a formal regeneration survey, because really at this point the harvested stands really have only matured enough to be able to get a good idea of what's coming back. Yeah.
What ANC did you say you're affiliated with?
Doyon Limited is the ANCSA corporation in the area. Yep.
Okay. Any more questions up here? Okay. I feel like Jerry Springer.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing, and also just super inspiring story, all the work that you're doing and your community's doing. But I was just curious with Alaska, if you're seeing a lot of warming, is it impacting, since you can only go during the ground freezing, has that added to any of concerns for the future?
That's a really good question, and it's probably too early to tell with respect to warming impacts on our specific operations. Yes, we've experienced warmer than normal Octobers and early Novembers just in the last few years. I'm full proponent of combating climate change, but I can't say that that's what's causing that. And at the same time, typically we had to be out of there by the end of March, and we've been able to go into mid to late April these last few years as well. So, yeah.
All right.
I'm curious about the harvesting window and how long you let it dry, and where does the moisture content start? And I think you said 32%.
Okay. So it takes us 4 months to acquire all of the material, to fell it. We leave it, we transport usually about half of the annual demand needed back to the community, because in the spring and the fall, we're not able to get out to the harvest units due to water crossings and things like that, and the ground being too soft. We have one drying season on the material, and paper birch in our area, moisture content starts in the mid-40s, 40% wet basis, and we're able to get down to that average of 32. And again, that all has to do with that processing head that we utilize. Yep. Well, if there's no other questions, I will just re-emphasize that this really is all about partnerships and people. That is what has brought this all together, and so I feel very fortunate again to be able to come and present to this group about that. I also want to make note that I'm very excited that I was able to be accompanied by a couple tribal members. We have Ron Burgett and Aaron Summer with Loudon Tribe here in attendance as well. And so we're excited to be able to share the story, and looking forward to learning from you all and having further conversations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Tim.